AITA for making my mom's life difficult by making her fight for custody. My mom moved to another state when I was 7, and during the court proceedings, I chose to stay with my dad despite wanting to be with her. I spent summers with my mom, but her focus was always on her stepkids, making me feel so neglected. After my dad's death, I asked my grandparents to file for custody. Now, my mom is urging me to move in with her. My dad died in June. He had custody of me, 16. My mom lives in another state. She moved when I was 7 because her husband got a new job and wanted a better life for his kids. Mom wanted to take me. She and dad battled it out in court. I was asked what I wanted by a judge. It was a really bad time for me. I told the judge I wanted my mom but didn't want to leave my dad, my friends, or my family. I told him I really didn't want to go. She was really kind to me. I don't remember everything she said, but I do remember her apologizing for me being in that position. She decided to give dad custody of me and gave mom summer parenting time and weekly calls to me. I begged mom not to leave. She told me she had to, but wanted me to come with them. I told her I didn't want to leave dad behind, but I didn't want to be left behind. She left and told me nothing much would change. For a while the calls were great and all, but then she started putting her stepkids, who were under 5 when mom and her husband moved, on the phone after 2 minutes of us talking. The calls were meant to be for her and me, but she wanted me to keep the bond with her stepkids. I never had a bond with them, so the calls sucked, and I started ending the calls when she would pass the phone to everyone else. Mom never came back on the phone, so I didn't need to stay on the phone. She'd correct me for it, and I'd tell her I wanted to talk to her and not them. The calls stayed on the court order, but they were at most 5 minutes instead of 20 minutes. Summers, I spent 7 weeks with mom. She'd act so excited to see me, but we never really got time for just us. Her stepkids were always added on because her husband would be at work, and when he'd get home, he'd join us. I asked for time with just my mom, and she'd ignore me. I grew more resentful of it all. My dad died right before I was due to fly out to mom's. I don't want to live with her, so I asked my grandparents if they could file for custody quickly. There was an emergency hearing because of the situation, and mom had to fly out for it. She wanted custody, she told the judge, but the judge said I could temporarily stay with my grandparents until a formal court date. Court is a little over a week away. My mom has tried to convince me to move in with her. She told me I should be with my family and my parents. I told her she's my only parent left, but she chose her husband and his kids over me before, so why should I choose her now? She told me I should understand that she didn't want to end her marriage over a good opportunity and how I could have gone with them. She told me she couldn't let his kids down after she became mom to them. I told her she could separate me from one of my parents. Then I pointed out she prioritized them over me. She told me it's not a reason to make her life harder by having to fight for custody of her son who already lost his other parent. She told me to be fair about this. AITA. Relevant comments. Commenter, my condolences on your loss. I realize that you're paraphrasing, but she showed her true colors when saying that the opportunity in moving was better than the opportunity to being in your life on a day-to-day basis. I suspect that there are some factors behind her newly polished desire to see you more. 1. Social stigma. What will everyone in her immediate circle think that, when she is left as the only living parent, you opt to live with someone else? Everyone will now know that the relationship between the two of you is not as she has probably described and uncover her awful behavior. She has probably spun some yarn around it all being your father's fault. 2. Financial. A. She will have to continue or start paying child support. B. She will have had direct access to any inheritance and probably had plans to spread it between all of her children and not to the legal legatee. As an aside on this matter, this is not fiction. It is a regular viewpoint when stepchildren are involved. Fairness is always a word bandied around when parent and step-parent conveniently forget that step-sibs have neither moral nor legal right to any monies or properties left. You really need to make sure this doesn't happen. Speak to your GPs and lawyers stat. Your GPs may need to take this to court, the sooner the better, to protect your assets. C. She plans to use your inheritance to finance her life, pay off the mortgage, etc. You would never see the money again. D. If she didn't before, she will now have to fund your ticket to visit, if the court insists you do. She was not fair in moving a plane right away. She was not fair to try to force you to interact with step-sibs. She was not fair in ignoring your honest request for one-to-one time with her. She was not fair prioritizing step-sibs over you. She was not fair trying to emotionally blackmail a child. She, patently, is wholly focused on herself and her own happiness with absolutely no regard to yours. In expecting you to move so far away from your existing support base, especially at an age where making new friends is more challenging, when you are so vulnerable and still grieving, shows a marked lack of empathy and actual care for you and your mental health. You are definitely NTA, and I suggest you focus on your happiness and comfort rather than allow yourself to be used. Commenter, OP. I hope you read this. Please get family law and probate attorneys ASAP. Family law will help with custody, probate will help with the will, if there is one. It might also be smart to look into getting a CASA. Not sure if you're too old for one, but if you aren't, they'll be the only person in the courtroom who is designated to fight for what you want and be your voice. Since you're 16, you might have aged out of this option, but look into it. I'm so sorry you're going through this. Commenter, NTA, You are allowed to feel how you feel, and you are right. She chose her husband, his kids, and his job opportunity over you. She failed to show any kind of familial loyalty to her own child. Why should you demonstrate such loyalty now? You didn't make her leave or make her leave you behind. You were 7 years old. It was up to her to make decisions with her child in mind. Yet, she chose to move out of state, and she chose to squander her allotted time with you instead of treasuring it. If you don't feel inclined to live with her now, she has only herself to blame for it. Story 2. AITA for telling my wife she is not worthy of what she's asking for her push present. My wife and I have been together for 5 years. She's pregnant with our first right now. Few days ago, she sends me a TikTok video of a woman over one of those extremist podcasts talking about deserving some kind of a push present. At first, I didn't even know what that meant, but when I looked it up, it's basically a thank you gift to the woman who brought your child in the world. This concept is, and still seems very strange to me. I understand seeking appreciation from your husband for what women go through during pregnancy and childbirth, but it's the materialistic part that gave me the ick. The woman on the TikTok went on and on about how it's a body for a body, which meant the man would have to get a permanent tattoo on his lower body, give her a house and a car as a gift exclusively to her. I felt that those expectations are very entitled, honestly a little vindictive, envious, permanent tattoo part, and very over the top for my taste. The decision to bring a child in the world is both partners' decision. My wife, in our case, is not forced to be a mom or be pregnant, as she wants to be a parent too. I simply replied to the TikTok with laughing emojis and moved on, thinking it was the end of it, and probably thought she meant to send that TikTok as a satire. Like, oh, look how dumb this woman is, thinking she deserves all that. She was in the other room when I reacted to the video, so she comes to me and tells me that she doesn't expect a tattoo and a house exclusively for her, but she wants me to dip into my personal savings to get her a car exclusively for her. I looked at her, almost shocked, and began laughing. I thought my wife and I had similar views on how extremist people can be, and I was wrong. I thought she was joking, and I pressed her if she was actually serious. She got very annoyed that I thought she was joking and probably imitating the entitled woman on the reel, and she flatly said that she expects a real push present. I said that her gift is the gift of parenthood and the realized outcome of a healthy baby. And materially speaking, I'll probably gift her a Mother's Day card, a day out, or some jewelry she wants, total under $700, but nothing more. I said if she really wants an extra car, it'll be our car, not just hers. She pressed more and said how it isn't enough for what she will go through. She kept pushing and asked me if I think she's not worthy enough. I told her she is worthy as my partner and the mother of my child, but she has to be realistic and realize that none of us, individually speaking, is worthy of what she's asking for, that she has to manage her expectations, because I don't see why she feels she deserves that. It came out wrong, but I didn't mean to dismiss her as a person. She isn't speaking to me and is crying, arguing about it. I heard her criticizing me to her sister on the phone, but under no circumstances would I ever considering gifting her a car. I feel bad she is hurting right now, but I don't feel bad for giving her a reality check. Top comments. Commenter, damn. I was thinking some roses or maybe necklace with baby's birthstone. Commenter, I had hyperemesis gravidarium that went away almost instantly. My push present was my husband getting me a bag of Arby's beef and cheddar sandwiches and sneaking it into the hospital after visiting hours. I was starving and cried while I ate it. Story 3. AITA for refusing to pay for my brother's wedding after he kicked me out of the bridal party for getting engaged. I, 41F, have always been close with my brother, Tom, 38M, and we've had a great relationship. When he got engaged to his fiancée, Sarah, 38F, I was honored to be asked to be a bridesmaid. They've been planning a big wedding for over a year, and I've been heavily involved in helping organize things, and even offered to cover some of the costs since my brother and his fiancée were on a tight budget. A few months ago, my partner proposed, I already refer to him as my husband, but we weren't officially married, to me, and I said yes. We kept it low-key to not take away from Tom's upcoming wedding, since we have been together for years and have an established marriage-like life together. However, after announcing our engagement, Sarah became cold towards me. Tom later told me that Sarah was upset, feeling like I stole her spotlight by getting engaged before their wedding. A week later, Tom and Sarah called me and said that because of the timing of my engagement, it would be best if I stepped down as a bridesmaid. Sarah wanted the focus on her, and apparently my new engagement was too distracting. I was hurt, but agreed to step down to keep the peace. Here's where things escalated. Tom recently asked if I was still willing to help cover the wedding costs I had previously offered to pay for, a significant amount. I was shocked. I politely declined, saying that I didn't feel comfortable contributing anymore since I was no longer in the bridal party and felt hurt by the situation. Tom got really upset and called me selfish, saying I'm ruining his big day. Sarah even accused me of holding a grudge and trying to punish them. Now, my family is split. Some think I should still help since I initially offered, while others agree that it's unfair to expect me to contribute after being kicked out of the wedding party. So, AITA for refusing to cover the wedding expenses after being removed from the bridal party? Relevant comments. Commenter, NTA. Why would you announcing your engagement have any influence on their wedding? Does everyone have to pause their life until the highly exalted Sarah gets married? You have no obligations to pay for anything for your brother, other than what you yourself want. Them expecting money after treating you like this for no valid reason is absurd. Commenter, NTA. You don't need to put your entire life on hold because someone else's wedding is a couple of months away. You weren't stealing her spotlight, and she was being petty. OP. Thank you. I feel a little bad since my partner and I have lived as a married couple for a long time, and he just wanted to make it official, but I think I just feel guilty really easily. Commenter, I thought you were going to say you announced your engagement at some part of the wedding, but you just got engaged in the proximity of their wedding. Your brother is ridiculous, and he shouldn't be surprised you are irked by his snub. And an irked person doesn't pay for the wedding. NTA. Story 4. I, 28F, and my husband, 27M. Feeling heartbroken by my husband's attitude after visiting my home country. What would you do in this situation? I'm originally from Africa and currently living in the USA, married to a Black American. Last year, I took my husband to my home country for the first time so he could meet my parents. It was his first time traveling abroad, and my parents were thrilled to meet him. They went out of their way to make sure he felt welcomed and comfortable. My dad drove us around the city, showing us local sights and taking us to various restaurants. Meanwhile, my mom woke up early each day to prepare breakfast and cook a variety of meals, even helped me doing laundry. However, when we returned to the USA, I was heartbroken by how my husband described the trip to his family and friends. Instead of sharing how gracious and hospitable my parents were, he complained about the city, specifically how many people were walking, and falsely claimed my mom only cooked steak and potatoes, which wasn't true. She had prepared a range of African dishes, and yet, every time someone asked about the trip, he failed to mention anything positive. Eventually, I confronted him about being ungrateful and misrepresenting my family's efforts. His response was that no one had specifically asked about my parents, and he even criticized the fact that we relied on my family to show us around, even though they were more than happy to do so. He promised to try to be more grateful in the future, but I told him that wasn't necessary if it didn't come from a genuine place. His dismissive attitude hurt me deeply, especially when he told me to just get over it. To make matters worse, he said his parents were too bougie to visit my country or stay at my parents' house, implying that his family typical vacations involve nice resorts and city tours. This was hurtful, but only because my family are not poor. They live in a nice neighborhood with all modern amenities, water, electricity, and internet included, washer, etc. It broke my heart to realize that I'm married to someone who is so culturally insensitive, and his response to my feelings was to just get over it. Comment. Your husband's reaction. Total bullshit. He took an entire trip, was treated like a damn king by your family, and instead of being appreciative, he came back and badmouthed your home country and your parents to his family. That's beyond just being ungrateful. It's downright disrespectful. You confronted him about his nonsense, and he hit you with that lame-ass, I'll try to be more grateful line, which translates to, I don't actually care, but I'll say whatever to shut you up. That's some emotionally lazy bullshit. Then, to top it all off, he tells you to just get over it. Wow. Is he trying to set a record for how many times a husband can act like a clueless jackass in one sentence? Let's not even get started on the bougie comment about his parents. That's straight up classist and rude as hell. Just because his folks like resorts doesn't mean they can't respect a different way of life. Your family gave him the best they had, which, honestly, sounds more personal and genuine than any cookie-cutter hotel room or overpriced resort he's used to. But nah, he couldn't even acknowledge that. And here's the kicker. It's not about the damn vacation anymore. The core problem is that your husband doesn't value your culture, your family, or your feelings. He's making zero effort to understand or appreciate where you come from. Instead of having your back, he's trying to shove your whole background under the rug. So, what should you do? You need to hit him with some tough love and set some boundaries. Let him know this dismissive, disrespectful crap isn't going to fly anymore. You don't need some half-assed promise to be more grateful. You need him to understand how much he's hurt you and to make a real effort to learn, appreciate, and respect where you come from. If he can't handle that or makes it about him being attacked or criticized, well, that tells you everything you need to know about how much this dude is willing to grow. And if he stays stuck in his ignorant ways, you might have to ask yourself whether you want to keep putting up with someone who refuses to see your value or your culture's value, because life's too fucking short to stay married to a culturally insensitive clown. Thank you for sticking around until the end. If you liked our videos, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to keep up with our latest content. Have a wonderful day.